And it's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil, Amok to you. We're here. You found us in our COVID closet. I mean, people don't have COVID. They're sick out there, though. And I got my mask out to protect everyone because I've got a little, if you've been listening the last couple of days, I had a little cough. So I'm wearing my mask. Not because I'm afraid of people out there. I'm afraid I might give you something that I have. So I had to go out today. Oh, by the way, this is Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes and all things considerable. But, we're here at 2 p.m. Pacific Live. But I'm going to start off early because I'm like a horse at the starting gate of races that should be banned, right? The races that should not take place or against racing. It's an exploitation of the horses. But as a metaphor, so I'm waiting to get out of the starting gate. And so I'm giving you a little something extra here. So I had to go out. And this is something New Yorkers don't do. New Yorkers don't take care of their cars because they don't have any, right? But I talked to my daughter. She let her driver's license lapse. She doesn't have a car. I had to take care of my car. And talk about customer service. They wouldn't give me a ride from the dealership back to my house. So they said, I'm sorry, you're going to have to stay here. And they had all the Starbucks coffee I can drink. And I drank a lot. And then, they had to make up in customer service for what they failed to do because they wouldn't give me a ride like 5 miles out of the way to where I live. And, I'm loyal to them. My loyalty does not mean anything to them, apparently. I got out of there in a couple hours and then, but I was wearing my mask and I had my computer. So it was okay. It's just that, people always make up these rules like, well, we do it for you. We'll have to do it for everyone. No, you have to do it for me because I'm a loyal customer. Damn you for not bending over backwards to placate me, who have given you thousands of dollars over the last 9 years to take care of this car. So anyway, I got upset there. But then I went to another place, a tire place. And the tire place is totally different. Oh, come on in. You don't need an appointment. We'll check to see if you need new tires. Totally different. I wish they covered the entire, all of the rest of the car, but they don't. Anyway, so I was looking at the news from afar as I was engaged in all these other things. Man, the Republicans, they do not believe in governing. We are close to a crisis in terms of, are we going to fund the government? Are we going to be? They want to not fund the government. You know why? Because they're small G government conservatives. They should not be in government. They should not be in government to tear down government. They can have better things to do with their time. They should let the people who believe in government govern and take care of things, because with small G government Republicans in the way, nothing gets done. Now, you had a couple of examples of that today, with the Hunter Biden thing. Hunter Biden is smart. He says, look, I'm going to honor the subpoena. I'm going to come in. I want to testify, but I don't want to do it on the Republicans' terms. I want to do it on my terms because I want to make sure that people understand what I'm saying. Right? He doesn't want the words to be twisted, to be propagandized. And so there was this big thing, brouhaha, when he showed up, when he showed up unexpectedly. And one of the Congress people, one of the representatives said, well, we're going to arrest you right now because no one's above the law. That's funny, the Republicans saying no one is above the law. And who do they support? Of this person who they believe is above the law. It's ridiculous. So that was one thing today that just sort of, as I was waiting for my car to get fixed, that was one thing that just got me that, oh, God, that's like a lead story. People are talking about that. They're not talking about Joe Coy or the Golden Globes or anything like that. And so the other thing that was interesting is the impeachment process getting some steam against Alejandro Mayorkas, the Department of Homeland Security guy, because of what is perceived by Republicans, again, conservative Republicans. They perceive what he's doing as the border guy as, not up to snuff. Impeach the guy. This, again, is another Republican stunt. The answer to how do we fix what's happening in the southern border is you don't resort to stunts like getting rid of Mayorkas through an impeachment process when there's nothing to impeach him on. No, what is the basis? We're going to impeach Mayorkas because he has been saddled and handcuffed by Republican policies and by Republicans not doing anything in previous administrations. That's the crazy thing about this. Stuntocracy is what this is. The Republicans want to throw out somebody and to show that they're doing something. All they really want is to do a stunt so that their guy, and who's their guy, of course? Well, the guy who is the big stunt master himself, Mr. Twice impeached, 4-time indicted, 91 counts, 91 felony counts, that guy. So we live in a stuntocracy. I don't know what's going to happen if they're going to fund the government. Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, has indicated that, yeah, we got a deal, but some stuntocrats don't like the idea of the deal, so they might block it. And this is what happens when you have people who aren't interested in leading, but people who are just interested in being Donald Trump. I mean, that is really what our democracy has come to, at least on the Republican side. People say, oh, Trump did that. Trump got away with that. Trump. Well, we want to be Trump. We want to exercise our Trumpness, which is just like a perverted form of political ego. It's disappointing because, like I said, all the different problems that we've mentioned, from the Hunter Biden thing, I mean, there's nothing there. They could just look at it and say, well, we got nothing there. We don't want to impeach Joe. We have nothing to impeach Joe Biden on. Let Hunter Biden go. He's got some problems with guns and drugs and some other things, but nothing that might corral Joe Biden. That's the only reason why they're holding Hunter Biden up. They want to connect Hunter Biden to Joe Biden so they can impeach Biden, but they can't. So now they're going to impeach Mayorkas, but they can't. There's no reason to impeach Mayorkas, the DHS guy, for border security, for whatever happens at the border. No, you know how you take care of border problems? You meet as bipartisans and you try to come to some kind of logical, come up with a logical approach to take care of immigration problems through the political process. Comprehensive immigration reform. Haven't had it in about 30 years or so. We need more of that. That's what we need. Or you come up with some solutions that make sense that you can both pass, but we're not at that phase. It's almost like the Republicans are only American in name only. They're really for themselves. And that's the biggest disappointment. They don't say it. They say, oh, well, we're patriots. Remember Joe Biden's speech on Friday, January 5th, the eve of January 6th. And remember January 6th, this past weekend. Like I said in my columns that I put out this week, it's the only political speech you may have to refer to in 2024, because it'll remind you why we're in this situation and what to do to get out. We need to come together as Americans in a democracy, working together to solve these problems. We're not going to get this when we have a party that believes not in democracy, but in stuntocracy. It's sad. I mean, you catch these Republicans outside of their official roles, and they're pleasant people. They're not evil. They're not bad, but they do not understand how government works when everyone works together. And the only thing that makes sense now is the kind of autocratic government that Donald Trump wants, which makes no sense at all. Uh, all right, so I put out the teaser. Can anyone kill as president? And I'm not talking about the president of comedy, because the presidents of comedy should be able to kill. They should be good enough so they can kill at will. The presidents of comedy. But the president of the United States, well, it's a different matter. So we'll get to that in a sec. First, I want to tell you about a couple things. Number one, this show is a talk show. This show is like, hey, you need a Filipino companion? Here I am. 2 p.m. Pacific. I'll come on and talk about the news. You can put me on your iPhone or your iPad or whatever. Go on YouTube, Emil Amok, or at Emil Amok1 on YouTube.com or on Facebook, fb.com/EmilGuillermo.media, or on Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter. I should be nice to X because X they're putting on shows. Don Lemon, Tulsi Gabbard, they're going to have an Asian American weirdo. No, she's not weird. She's just, I don't know. She's a little whack. She used to be kind of, well, she makes Nikki Haley seem kind of rational. Tulsi Gabbard. And I'm prone to like her. She's from Hawaii. Anyway, she's getting a show on X, and someone else they've given a show on X too, and so X is going to be the thing because you don't have to be on a big major platform. You just have to be on the net, be on the net and talk. That's all they want. Oh, have an audience too. I do it for art's sake. Anyway. I want to mention, how did I get here? Oh, I want to mention how PETA has come out with a new documentary, and it's on animal experimentation. Now, we bicker a lot politically, left and right, but the issue that people agree with? People agree with how animals are treated in experiment. I mean, that's something that universally there is a bipartisan move, and Republicans and Democrats are pushing for some kind of pushing for a plan to make sure that animals aren't used in experiments. That is probably one of the few bipartisan issues that I know of. Anyway, on Amazon Prime, a new documentary, The Failed Experiment, executive produced by Bill Maher, 6-part documentary, roughly about 48 minutes. Check it out. It'll cost you $1. I don't know why they made it $1, but it's $1, 99 cents. You have access to it. If you always wanted to know about animal experimentation and you just, weren't aware of it. I mean, because some people actually think that, we don't experiment on animals anymore, do we? Yeah, we do. Check it out. They lay out the history, lay out what's happened. They're short, punchy little segments, 6 of them, and you'll have the whole picture of animal experimentation. Check that out on Amazon Prime. It's a documentary. It's called The Failed Experiment, executive produced by Bill Maher, directed, put out by Ethan Elam at PETA, and I think you'll like it. Also, check out this week's The PETA podcast with me, Emil Guillermo, and I talk about it. And I interview Kathy Guillermo. You'll like it. She'll lay it out. Let you know why the documentary is worth watching and what you need to know about animal experimentation. So anyway, I got to mention that. Let me also mention, I do this show because I do this show. I mean, this is what broadcasters do when they don't broadcast anymore. They digicast or whatever. This is not broadcasting. This is a kind of casting. But I also do these live shows. I mean, this is a live show, but you can watch it recorded, and I talk about the news, and I talk to you, and we're buddies, right? We're friends, right? Of course. But I do actual storytelling narrative shows. And I'm doing another one of my Emil Amok, Lost NPR host, monologues and they're different every time. Just as life is different every time. They're different every time. Depends on who's in the audience. I'm doing it this year in Fresno. I'm doing five shows in Fresno in March, 5 shows in New York City in April, and 5 shows in Orlando, Florida in May. And typically, I just go to fringe festivals and do my shows there. So the Orlando Fringe, the new New York City Fringe, and the Rogue Festival in Fresno, California. That so far, that's what I'm doing, and then I'll probably do some individual things, some one shots throughout the country, or maybe just around California. But that's the plan for 2024 for me. Anyway, here's the dates for New York. Friday, April 5th at 9:50 p.m. Monday, April 8th at 8:10 p.m. Saturday, April 13th at 5:20 p.m. Friday, April 19th at 8:10 p.m. and Sunday, April 21st at 5:20 p.m. Emil Amok, Lost NPR host. A new iteration. There are always new iterations. Check it out. Coming to the New York City Fringe in April. And like I said, if you're in California, I'll be in Fresno. In March, I'll be in Florida. I got some good new Filipino buddies in Orlando. They're going to come see me hopefully in May. Check that out. All right. A couple of things that are worth mentioning. And that is, my column is on the ALDEF blog, the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. You should go to it, aldef.org/blog. Check out my writing there. And interestingly enough, ALDEF is having their 50th anniversary. Now, this is a significant thing. One of the things when I was running out of newspapers and websites to write for 13 years ago, I met the head of ALDEF, Margaret Fung, at an Asian American Journalism Association meeting, or Asian American Journalist Association meeting. And I've been a member of AAJ since the 80s. And I've seen Margaret from time to time, and we'd say hi. And at the time, my column was the longest running Asian American column no one had written a column on Asian American issues consistently for a week until I came on. Since 1995 at that point. It's been 20, 30 years, something like that. And so Margaret said, well, why don't we'll put your column on our website. That was in 2010. I'm still writing my column out of the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund website, where I house my column. Then I send it out to other ethnic journalism outfits throughout the country. And so I'm very indebted to ALDEF. And imagine, they've been at it for 50 years, fighting for the poor, fighting for Asian American rights, fighting for civil rights, fighting for our voting rights. 50th anniversary. It's a big deal. I went to their 49th last year. I happened to be in New York. This year, the date is on May 20th, 2024. They have it same place every year, Pier 60. It's a great time. Pier 60 in May, could have nice weather, right? Usually I'm in Pier 60 in January or February and the snow drifts are high. Well, actually, maybe the last couple of years. But boy, 10 years ago, I went and it was incredibly cold and the snow. And anyway, save the date, Monday, May 20th, 2024, Pier 60, Chelsea Piers, the 50th anniversary gala and Justice in Action Award ceremony. And they're going to honor some key people. Don Tamaki, partner in Manami and Tamaki, San Francisco firm. I know Don. He's a pioneer in Asian American civil rights, Asian American history. You know, a lot of these people they're getting at that age where we need to honor them now in their 60s and 70s for being important, stalwart folks in our community's fight for social justice. That's Don Tamaki. Sam Kichi, Chief Policy Officer at CVS Health. That's important. He's going to be honored. Justice in Action honoree. So those two honorees, that's going to be a special night. The 50th anniversary gala Justice in Action Award ceremony, May 20th, 2024, a Monday. Don't miss it, right? Save the date for ALDEF. For more information, you can go to the ALDEF blog, aaldef.org, and then put /blog and go see what I'm writing. If you went there, you know I have this thing. I'm talking about Joe Coy. I'm Filipino American. He's Filipino American. As I said yesterday, I found out. I just assumed. I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Oh yeah, he's Filipino, but no, he's half. I honor the halves. I make halves. I make half Filipino, so I honor them. But he's not full Filipino, and that's okay. Like I said, Tim Lincecum, best Filipino baseball player ever, half Filipino. It's always the maternal Filipino, or on the mother's side. Father is white. Lincecum's case, father was French. I don't know. Joe Coy, his father's last name Herbert. So Hébert could be French. Anyway, so Joe Coy is half, which explains why his Tagalog is only as good as what his mother mentioned to him. Because we both say the same thing at the end of our shows. I mean, just coincidental. Just found out. You both say, "I love you," but in Filipino, and the shortcut is to say "mahal kita." But a friend of mine, Filipino American woman, journalist, she said, "Emil, they really should say," and then she just rattled off some more letters, and it was a whole phrase. It's like you can't just say "good night." You have to say "magandang gabi sa inyo lahat," like good evening to all. That's what they say. You can't say "magandang gabi." You could say that. You're shortchanging them in the Tagalog. You got to say "magandang gabi sa inyo lahat." You got to finish the song. Darn it. So anyway, I realized that Joe Coy was sort of like me because he's half white and I just sound white, but I'm full Filipino. So during this whole episode, I'm trying to defend Joe Coy because he was just being lambasted all over the last couple of days, and then things are starting to change or starting to turn. Or I realize that there is no such thing as being lambasted, because I read this today. This is interesting. This is from tvline.com. Despite host Joe Coy receiving widespread pans for his hosting performance, I didn't pan Joe Coy. TV Line readers gave the comic a rare F grade. Oh, harsh. F for Filipino, maybe? The 3-hour ceremony, benefiting from its NFL doubleheader lead-in, drew 9.4 million viewers. You're bad and you get 9.4 million viewers. That's 50% more than 2023. And it's the largest Globes audience in 4 years. So, is it that bad? Someone's happy. I'm sure the naysayers would say, oh, it would have been different if Chris Rock had said yes, he'd be on, and then we could have sent in a plant to punch him or something, and then that would have doubled the number. No. Joey Coy was good, and if you read my columns on the Aldef blog and also in the Inquirer.net, the Philippine website, as I point out, Joe Coy didn't get silence. Joe Coy got laughs. I mean, he got solid. Well, 3-second laughs. That's a lot. That's it's not a titter. A titter would be like, but if you get you can count. Comedians are, they listen for how big a wave they got to ride on. And the 3-second laugh is usually, that's a good one. 5 is better. And he stepped on some 3s that were going to be 5s because he kind of bailed out. He's saying, I'm going to bail out of here because I'm going to build on this and get a better laugh. That's because he panicked. But he still got laughs. He was doing his thing. And a lot of comedians, Whoopi Goldberg, Howard Stern, Michael Che said, hey, he did yeoman's work. He may not have killed, in the sense that everyone was on the floor rolling, but he got laughs. He was serviceable, nothing to be ashamed of. He was a professional comic, and sometimes your audience just isn't with you. But what an audience he had. 9.4 million viewers. I'd say Joe Coy is going to do just fine. And then I noticed that Joe Coy is also on his tour now. He's going to be in St. Louis on the 12th. There's still a few tickets left, but he's selling well there. I was looking at his tour. The tour, it's like a 32-city world tour ending in Antwerp in Belgium, if you imagine that. I was checking the ticket master site. He's selling well. And I don't know if it's because of this, but if people didn't know him before, they know him now. He wasn't selling well in places wasn't doing well in Louisville. Wasn't doing well in Indiana. But he was doing well in most places. It's funny. He didn't seem to be doing well in Austin at this point. But maybe that's just, where ticket sales are. But doing well in St. Louis, Missouri. So I think that the lesson is that it's not bad. Any kind of publicity, if it's good or if it's bad, your name's out there and people know who Joe Coy is. I talk about it. I continue to talk about it because it's rare that a Filipino can command this kind of attention from anybody for a sustained period of time. But Joe Coy is. So I think he's going to learn from this, and we're going to learn from this because he's going to become, for all the brickbats he's getting for his performance, he's going to be seen as a Filipino-American martyr. I mean, he's doing pretty well selling out theaters. 30-city tour. Well, I don't know if he's selling out, but he's doing well. Now, Greta Gerwig, she came out today in Hollywood Reporter. She says she got the joke when Joy Coy told the Golden Globes audience on Sunday that Oppenheimer was based on a Pulitzer Prize winning book, but Barbie is about a plastic doll with big boobies. Which, look, I haven't even seen Oppenheimer yet, but I've seen Barbie several times. And I actually love the Barbie movie, mostly because I love Greta Gerwig. I loved her mostly in Frances Ha. I thought Frances Ha was a fantastic movie. For others, they're okay. They're good, but I really like Frances Ha. And Barbie, I really like too. I had my reservations about Barbie, but she pulled it off. And so a joke about a plastic doll with big boobies. Come on. Barbie is the epitome of plastic surgery. I mean, I loved the Barbie movie. This is what Greta Gerwig had to say to the BBC Radio 4 today. She commented on how even the joke has been criticized for being reductive or sexist. Hey, Gerwig said she had a different take. Here's her quote. She said, "Well, he's not wrong. She's the first doll that was mass produced with breasts. So he was right on," she said. And I think that so much of the project of the movie was unlikely because it is about a plastic doll. And then Gerwig went on to add that Barbie, a toy her own mother was hesitant about her playing with when she was young, by her very construction has, quote, no character, no story. She's there to be projected upon. Says Gerwig, the insight that Ruth Handler had when she was watching her daughter play with Barbie dolls or with baby dolls is she realized my daughter doesn't want to pretend to be a mother. She wants to pretend to be a grown woman, Gerwig said. So, the thing about Gerwig's response is that she shows that she knows what humor's about. She knows what comedians are doing. She knows when comedians make fun, they're not trying to harm, they're not trying to hurt, and they're not being reductive or sexist. They're, if anything, inviting debate, inviting people to talk about these things like we're doing here. And like people have had endless opportunities to talk about, oh, Joe Coy, was he good or bad to Barbie? Was he good or bad to what's her name? Taylor Swift. No, he just made an observation. It was different enough to be funny if you were open to the humor. And if not, you should be open to at least the discussion, to the debate. That's what living in a society where free expression is, we honor that here. When you hear someone's free speech you don't like, you don't limit his speech, but you then debate it. And you can say, yeah, okay, so people don't like him. Doesn't mean he doesn't have a right to say it. Doesn't mean he's condemned or should be condemned for saying it. The First Amendment is about more speech, not less. And so, kind of lesson here. I mean, when I saw Greta Gerwig comment about it, I didn't realize the Barbie joke. I thought the Barbie joke, oh, here's a doll with the plastic boobies. The idea was that Joe Coy was being sophomoric, because that's usually, they're being sexist and sophomoric. But actually, I thought, no, it's a plastic doll. He was right. And Greta Gerwig is smart and understanding. And hopefully her fans would say, oh, well, Greta Gerwig isn't upset. And we're cool. We're cool. We're down with it. the Taylor Swift fans, I don't know. Because I see a lot, very smart Taylor Swift fans who will like defend her to the hilt. And this is almost like the Dave Chappelle when he joked, about trans people. And I think, God, I listened to what Dave Chappelle has been saying, and I don't think he's anti-trans. I think he's pro-humor. And I think when he sees the reaction, he wants to test that limit. But because I know this new special, which I've seen, and he goes into the trans thing, and he says some things that he's not. I'm not saying he's asking for it, but he's like testing. He's testing the limits, and he's getting a reaction, and that's what people do. But remember, I think you got to remember that humor, if it's genuine and authentic, then if it's genuine and authentic and pure of heart, then there's no harm intended. And that's why to be upset about Joe Coy, you could be upset to say, oh, he's not funny. But, I've shown by looking at the analysis of his jokes, he got some laughs. He was funny enough. But to say, oh, he's anti-Barbie or sexist or no. He's pro-humor, pro-joke. And that's unfortunately where we are in today's world with who can be funny, who can't, and why humor is being destroyed a lot because no one wants to offend anyone. It's about, let's be as inoffensive as possible. Well, if we're going to be as inoffensive as possible, we're telling the comedians, let's be as unfunny as possible. That's not right. Anyway, hooray for Greta Gerwig coming to Joe Coy's defense. Okay, now, comedians should kill all the time. They should. But presidents, no. Presidents shouldn't kill all the time. And just one more thought on bombing and Joe Coy, if he bombed. See, a lot of people have high standards of, did you bomb? I have done a show where no one laughed. No one. It was a small crowd. No one laughed. And then afterwards, people come up to me and say, oh, that was so funny. So why didn't you laugh? Well, I was thinking about it. Okay. You see, then I'm a humorist, not a comedian. But I just think that you got to hear the laughs. You got to hear. Some people are like, they're clear. Look, you got to laugh or you bombed. But I'm of the school that says, did you connect? Did you make them feel? Oh, okay, good. Then you didn't bomb. I've come out to shows where I feel really good, and some comedian friends would say, they come out shaking their heads, sorry you bombed, man. And then I talk to my theater friends and they say, wow, that was so great. And, people felt. That's why the only arbiter for any of this, if you're a performer, is yourself. All right, on Trump. And I want to mention this because I mentioned what was going on with the immunity hearing yesterday. And I was just reading off Reuters. And it just seemed ridiculous, right? This idea that Donald Trump's lawyer was saying in federal court that a president could order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival. And unless he was impeached or convicted by Congress, or impeached and convicted, right? Impeached first and convicted by the Senate. he would still be, unless he was that, he would be immune from criminal prosecution, because the Trump perspective is, you're president. You you have to have immunity. That's the idea. This is part of the. This is like a little lie. The big lie is that Trump claims the election was stolen from him in 2020. The little lie is, as president, you have to have immunity. I wonder tonight, when Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley go at it, because they're fighting for second place. Nikki Haley is closing in New Hampshire, but in Iowa, the big prize is who gets to be second. So DeSantis and Haley are going to have to tear themselves apart, and whoever survives gets to live another primary state. But it's desperation time for DeSantis. What is he going to say? And it'd be interesting if they get a question like, well, Trump says he's got immunity. He can send SEAL Team 6 and kill someone and be immune. Who would you kill, Ron DeSantis? That'd be an interesting question. Who would you kill, Nikki Haley? I have been a debate moderator and questioner in my journalism past. I did gubernatorial races, senatorial races, congressional races. I have never had a question about the immunity of an elected official. Well, I didn't do a presidential debate, but the idea that if you're the chief executive, the commander in chief, you have total immunity. What Donald Trump is talking about is he wants to be an Asian dictator. Wow. If you're an Asian American, I mean, if you're an Asian American, that's not a flattering thing, right? That the guy who wants to be president of the United States actually wants to be more like an Asian dictator than past American presidents. Because I think if you asked every American president living, and if you were able to get to some of the dead ones, I don't know anyone who would say, yeah, I would like to have immunity to kill some of my rivals. I mean, that's what it is. Hey, when you're killing your rivals, then Donald Trump is no better than Ferdinand Marcos, no better than Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il, all of them, all the Kim Jongs. No better than sorry, the guy who was just here from China. Joe, my man Joe. And maybe that's the evolution of democracy in America, where, the great democratic experiment ends up with democracy degrading down to the level of the third world. I mean, the first world has been too high. The first world is too up there. We're like leveling it, Go more like mid-range. We're not elitist, no. Democracy, we like some of the ideas of those third world dictators. And that is something that Donald Trump's ilk, they're buying that. And they're in control. They're part of the stuntocracy. Oh my God. Anyway, so the idea that Trump's lawyers suggested in federal court that a president could order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival, and unless he was impeached and convicted by Congress, he'd be immune from criminal prosecution. Excuse me, I had a breathless cough. I had a cough at the thought. Provocative, hyperbolic, but this is what's going on in Trump's head about what he wants. And I wonder if, given that this is so prominent, because the three judge panel is going to have to decide, and it looks like they're very skeptical of this idea that Trump has immunity. But maybe someone will venture with a question to Nikki Haley and say, who would you want immunity in a political murder? In a political murder that you feel is necessary to save our country? Who would you want immunity from? I mean, it's just outlandish. But you see it as I repeat it. This is what the former president is asking for. So let's see. Trump attorney D. John Sauer argued that Trump's actions surrounding January 6th were part of his presidential duties and that impeachment and conviction by Congress are a prerequisite for prosecution. So, yeah, I was talking about that. Yes, he's got to be impeached and convicted first before he can be prosecuted, because then he'd just be a regular president, right? I mean, he'd be president, and you can't, in his mind, you can't go after a president. But Trump's own lawyers noted during his January 2021 impeachment trial that he could be subject to future criminal liability, and several Senate Republicans voted to acquit him on that basis. So that's a little twist, because Trump found himself in the corner and said, okay, yeah, you can convict me in the future, just not now. And then some Republicans went ahead and acquitted him because he made that statement. That was back during 2021. Now we're in 2024. You got this three-judge panel, one of whom is Asian American, Florence Pan, who has an interesting background. She's from Taiwan. She smart. I mean, I was listening to her, and thank goodness she's there. She graduated from Penn, went to Stanford Law, did a stint at Goldman, seemed to be going in the route or the direction of the VC type, the investment banker type, money, but somehow ended up in government, found her way where she was appointed to the court, the appellate court. And she was one, and they went over some of her questions yesterday. And she was tough. And when she asked the Trump attorney about this SEAL Team 6 thing, she said, I asked you a yes or no question. Could a president who ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political rival who was not impeached, would he be subject to criminal prosecution? And then Sauer, the Trump attorney, had to say, my answer is qualified yes. Qualified yes, meaning he really means no, but a qualified yes, because he doesn't want to seem stupid. He said, there is a political process that would have to occur under our Constitution, which would require impeachment and conviction by the Senate, because he's not giving up on the idea that a president cannot be impeached for something like ordering the SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a rival. Interesting, just interesting how we've come to this in our democracy's evolution. And then, of course, yesterday, people brought up the Fifth Avenue comment that Trump has made. It was back in 2016, 2 weeks before the Iowa caucuses in 2016. Trump said he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and he wouldn't lose any voters. And now we're testing that theory. We are testing that theory. And it looks like there are enough rabid folks out there who will do anything for Trump and who would make sure that Trump were right in that assessment, that he could shoot anyone on Fifth Avenue and not lose a voter. Not even if he hit one of his own by mistake. Under Trump's reasoning, all it would take is a loyal senator, or is 34 loyal senators, to vote for acquittal in an impeachment trial and give that president unchecked power to commit crimes. I mean, that's important to understand. That's all he would need, 34. You got 34 Republicans or 34 people beholden to Trump. And then Judge Karen Henderson said, quote, I think it's paradoxical to say that his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed allows him to violate criminal law. That is a paradox and a fantasy, a Trumpian fantasy. After the hearings, Trump warned that there would be bedlam in the country if the indictment is allowed to stand, which is his January 6th echo, right? He's never going to let you forget January 6th. When they talk about threat to democracy, there's your real threat to democracy, Trump declared. And essentially, he was making the threat right there. Oh, I hope we wake up, America. Look, you don't have to be woke. You just have to understand the danger of the former president who wants to be president again. And yesterday, it was clear that, oh my God, he really believes his BS. That as president, you have to have immunity. No. In a democracy, there are checks and balances. You do not have absolute immunity. And especially like Judge Henderson said, you mean to carry out your duties of the Constitution, you have to commit a violation of criminal law? I don't think so. In Trump America, but see, this is the thing. There are a lot of people who are buying into Trump America, and you can see the transformation of people who used to be just regular Republicans, little ditzy, but just regular Republicans, and now they've gone over. They are just so totally into, we're going, it's Trump. I mean, I saw it today with the Hunter Biden thing, and there was one congresswoman saying, well, Hunter Biden, if you're going to not pay attention to subpoenas, we just want to arrest you right now. And then, by that token, they should have arrested all the Republicans who wouldn't show up and honor their subpoenas. Jim Jordan. So that's like I said, the stuntocracy. It's all about stunts, and we're running out of time. We're going to have to start doing something for real. Time for stunts are over. All right, so one more time. Hey, my shows, I'm doing my New York shows again this year. A friend of mine from New York, a lawyer. I have a lot of friends who are lawyers. One friend promised that he'd come to my show the next time it's in New York, and there it is, April 5th, April 8th, April 13th, April 19th, and April 21st. All weird times. I'll be putting it out on my website soon. The New York City Fringe at Under St. Mark's Theater. One of my you're actually underground. You're part of the New York Underground. Literally. And let's see. And then also let me mention May 20th for the ALDEF 50th ALDEF dinner. Go to aldef.org, get more information, save the date, aldef.org, May 20th for their 50th celebration, gala celebration. And one last mention for the PETA podcast, where I talk about the new documentary, executive produced by Bill Maher, called The Final Experiment. It's on Amazon Prime, and for I guess, I don't know why they charge, but they did, 99 cents is the charge. You get 6 documentary episodes. It's a 6-episode documentary, under an hour, and it's a quick binge, but at the end, you will be an expert on animal experimentation. You will know enough to say, animal experimentation, not for me. Not for me. All right. That's it for our show today. Hey, look, thank you for coming, for being here, for listening. You know, like they say on the airlines, we know you have a choice. You have a choice to stay away. You have a choice not to be here. You have a choice to not be with me. God, have you been following the Alaska Airlines story? I think they're going to change their, well, they're going to have to change their names, but I think their competitors are changing their mottos. They're saying things. We're the airline that has bolts on doors. Fly with us. On our airline, you won't get sucked out of the skies. Oh, that's reassuring. I want to go with them. At our airlines, your bags fly free, and we won't suck you out of the skies. Oh yeah, I want to fly with them. I'm flying there. Yeah. All right. We end every show with a little meditation. It works. I mean, it just works. You got to let the exterior things go. That's a good thing about appearing in a box like this. It's all on the inside, right? The exterior things, let those go. Let those just like... And you got a new day. New day, new moment. Seize not the day, seize the moment. And then go with it. Like you're riding a little wave toward new moments. And of course, the meditation I like to use is a little self-love. Self-love always works. That was Barbie's message. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Sniffly. Till next time. Hey, look, catch us. If you missed any or all, go back to the beginning, youtube.com/@EMILAMOK1. Yeah, youtube.com/@EMILAMOK1. That's how you get us. All right, till next time. Mahal